Thank you so much for joining in the lesson. In this lesson, I just want to show you how you can understand difficult words in a passage for comprehension without using a dictionary, without using any extra materials, but the same text that you are reading. If you are interested in this lesson, then let's get started. But before we do that, please remember to subscribe and share the video, and also like the video so that the YouTube algorithm can be kind on me. So let's look at the method that we are going to look at. We are going to look at what is called the clue method, just using clues from the passage. And for today, we are going to focus on synonyms, how you can use synonyms to understand meanings of words, antonyms, how you can use words with opposite meanings, and examples, how you can use examples to help you understand the passage. Okay, let me talk about how to use this method. Number one, when you find a difficult word, underline it, circle it, cross it, do whatever it is to make it visible. And then do the same with similar words, or sorry, with words nearby that signal the meaning. Okay, words that help you understand. We are going to see this very soon. Secondly, look around the sentence and the next sentence for clue types. What clue types can be found within the environment? Thirdly, identify and use the best clue to predict. Now, I know I'm talking about clues. I'm going to give you those clues, synonyms, antonyms, and examples as clues for understanding. So, identify what is the best clue to help you understand the meaning of the word. And number four, evidence check reading again and test the fit. So once you feel like you understand the meaning of that word, try to read again just to make sure you are right. Just try to read again to make sure you are right. So let's get started. Let's look at synonym clue. Synonym clue. Okay, so on synonyms, let me define a synonym. A synonym is a word or a phrase that precisely or nearly mean the same as another word or a phrase in a given language. So if you've got two words which are nearly similar or precisely similar, then you know that those are synonyms. They've got similar meanings. Examples of words that can show you that here they are synonyms include also, or in other words, that is known as meaning. When you see these words as you are reading, just know that the word that you have read before and the word or phrase that's coming after, they have the same meaning. So even if you don't understand the first word or the second word coming after or before these words, then you know that you can understand that. Let's look at an example. If you've got a text like this, during the drought, the river became tepid. In other words, lukewarm, which made swimming less refreshing. If you look at a passage like that, you find the word tepid, which could be a bit difficult or maybe even very difficult for some people to understand, right? So when you look at this passage gives you the clue, and that clue is synonym clue. Let's look at this again. During the drought, the river became tepid. Okay. During the drought, the river became tepid. I don't understand tepid, but I know the river became tepid. In other words, lukewarm. Oh, in other words, is giving me a similar word for tepid. In other words, I'm saying tepid in other words. So you are using the synonym clue, and the clue here is in other words. So the thinking is that in other words, signals a synonym for tepid. Okay? In other words, signals the synonym for tepid. Meaning, tepid means lukewarm or only slightly warm. Lukewarm or only slightly warm. So you can see how we found the meaning of tepid using the passage itself, and we are using the clue called synonym. Okay, let's move on. Let's now look at antonym clue. Antonym clue. Firstly, an antonym is a word or phrase that is opposite in meaning to another word or phrase in the same language. So if you've got words that have got opposite meanings, those are called antonyms. So how can we use these clues? Look for words like but, because but shows contrast. However, it's contrast, opposite. Although, it's opposite. Yet, opposite. In contrast, opposite. Instead of, opposite. Rather than, opposite. So when you see words like this, they are giving you a clue of what one difficult word is. Let's look at an example of antonym clue. Let's look at an example of antonym clue. If we have got the text, if we've got a text like, Mara expected the new volunteer to be timid, but he was confident and spoke first at the meeting. When you look at that sentence, I think we don't understand the word timid. What is the meaning of the word timid? But then, if you continue reading, it says, but. We said, but is an example of opposite meaning, right? So, but he was confident. So, this new volunteer, we thought, or Mara expected him to be timid, but he was the opposite of timid, which is confident, and he spoke first at the meeting, which means that the word but signals contrast with confident and willing to speak. So this person, you can see that timid means shy or not confident. Timid means shy or not confident. Why? Because the opposite of timid is confident. Therefore, timid means that not confident. Are you following me? At this point, if you have followed me, subscribe and like this video. And like this video. Okay, let's move to the last clue. Let's talk about the last clue, which is the example clue. An example is a thing characteristic of its kind or illustrating a general rule. So something that looks like a kind you are talking about is an example. Let me give you quick examples. If we talk about a bird, a parrot is an example of a bird, right? A chicken is an example of a bird. So an example is something that has got characteristics of the kind of thing that you are talking about. So when you see words like, for example, phrases or, or terms like, for instance, such as, including, like, when you see these in a sentence, it means that whatever comes after this is going to give us characteristics of what that word which we didn't understand, or that phrase which we didn't understand. And at least using these characteristics, we should be able to tell what that phrase or that word means in a passage. Let's look at an example. The clinic launched a wellness program that offered activities such as guided walks, mindfulness sessions, and health lunch workshops. Let me read that again for you. The clinic launched a wellness program that offered activities. So the clinic launched a wellness program. So we've got a wellness program that offered activities, but we don't understand what this wellness program that offered activities is. We don't know it. So let's continue reading. Such as is now, we know that from the reading such as, we are going to read the example clue. Example clue. So let's look at some of these characteristics of a wellness program that offers activities: guided walks, mindfulness sessions, and health lunch workshops. So if you know these examples, then you can know that in this context, or in the context of this passage, wellness program means doing things like that. So the thinking here is that activities such as introduces examples that define wellness in context. Okay, so um, when you see the phrase there, activities such as, you know that it is introducing examples that will help us define wellness in the context of that program. And that is how you can use examples to understand what really, because there could be so many wellness programs, but in the context of the passage, These examples are actually telling you what specific wellness program and what activities were involved. So here, that is the thinking. Now, what is the meaning? Wellness in this case means that practices that support health and well-being. Practices that support health and well-being. So we can work out the meaning of wellness in this case using examples. So, ladies and gentlemen, using these three clues that we have looked at, synonym clues, antonym clues, and example clues, you can actually understand words or phrases that are difficult to understand if you pay attention to the existence of synonyms, the existence of antonyms, and the existence of examples. And antonyms or synonyms shouldn't come in pairs. Use the words that I showed you to come up or to realize that you are now dealing with synonyms. If the author says in a similar way or similarly, then you know that this is a synonym. Okay. Now, at this point, I want you to work out something for yourself. I'm not going to help you. I want you to work this for yourself. Let's start. If you've got a text saying, when the warning siren sounded, staff moved quickly to the assembly area. The plan was meticulous. That is, every step had been checked in advance, so no one was left behind. Okay? You can pause and read it for yourself in case I'm not reading well, I'm not a good reader. You read it for yourself. Now, here there is a question that I want you to answer. What does meticulous mean in this paragraph? Right? Using the clue, work out this and please write this in the comments. Firstly, write what meticulous means in the context of this passage. Also, tell me which words signaled the clue type that you used to come up with the meaning. What is the clue type? Remember, we've got synonyms, antonym, and example. Which one did you use? Write in the comment. Next one, I want you to think about the next one. The meeting was meant to resolve tensions, yet it became more fractious as speakers interrupted one another and side conversations grew louder. Okay, now, again, answer these questions in the comment. What does fractious mean here? In this context, what does fractious mean? Which part of this passage helped you to decide the meaning that you have come up with? Okay, which part of this passage has helped you to come up with the meaning that you have come up with? Let's go to the last one. Let's go to the last one, and then we are going to close. The last one is, the ranger advised visitors to avoid feeding wildlife. For instance, chips, bread, and biscuits attract birds that then crowd picnic tables. The ranger advised visitors to avoid feeding wildlife. For instance, chips, bread, and biscuits attract birds that then crowd picnic tables. Now, question, what does the writer mean by wildlife in this context? And how do the examples shape your answer in this context? How did the examples shape your answer? Please write in the comment section, answer all three questions that we have looked at in this passage, and let me know what you think about the lesson in general. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I don't take it for granted that you took your time to watch it. My final request is that please, before you leave, subscribe, and subscribe.